Welcome to Taste for Adventure. We're currently in our series about autumn beers, kind of covering Marzens as a large topic. We're doing the sights and smells today. So, what are we getting ourselves into with this one?
The Marzen beer category in the BJCP, I thought we could really dive into specifically the appearance and the aroma on what makes a Marzen a classic Marzen.
Yeah.
And then we have three great beers to taste. We have an Oktoberfest Marzen from Founders, one from Bell's, and then we have a classic from Germany in Spaten Oktoberfest.
It's cool. Bell's and Founders I know really well. They're the two biggest craft brewers kind of in Michigan.
That's right. Yeah, and that's kind of why I thought it'd be fun to put them head-to-head along on the flight together. I think they're both been around a long time, well respected.
Sure.
And I don't think Founders Oktoberfest was available in this area until very recently. So
Really?
I'm really excited to try that one out.
Yeah. Well, let's give them a shot.
All right. And for appearance, the BJCP says it should be amber orange to deep reddish copper color, should not be golden. Bright clarity with persistent off-white foam stand.
Now, is there anything in the BJCP guidelines about clarity for Marzens? Because this one's not. It's not opaque. It's pretty translucent. I can see my finger right there.
It's pretty clear, yeah, and they say that it should be a very clear beer. You shouldn't have any kind of haze or opacity in a Marzen.
Got it.
This is pretty darn clear, I would say.
Okay.
Now, as far as foam stand goes, it's a little bit difficult in these snifter glasses, but as I swirl it, it is pulling up that foam again pretty quickly.
It's got that tight bubbling that we've talked about on other episodes.
Yeah, I don't see anywhere I could knock it down in appearance. I think it really, it looks like a Marzen, looks like a really nice fall beer.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that orange color. Very, very fall.
All right, the BJCP description for aroma in a Marzen is that it has moderate intensity aroma of German malt, typically rich, bready, somewhat toasty, with light bread crust notes. Clean lager fermentation character, no hop aroma. Caramel, dry biscuity, or roasted malt aromas are inappropriate. Very light alcohol might be detected but should never be sharp. Clean, elegant malt richness should be the primary aroma. So moving on to aroma, what are you picking up there?
Well, it's pretty indicative of the Marzen. It's very malty. I'm getting a lot of malt. And then I've heard you throw around terms like bread crust, bread, freshly baked bread. Still a little bit mystic for me. It's a little bit arcane in my mind. But I'm understanding as we go along that sort of characteristic, that breadiness, that doughiness, that sort of these bread characteristics. Yeah, you called it liquid bread in another episode.
Yeah. I'm getting definitely a little bit of that bread crust and like lightly toasted bread as well.
It smells clean and crisp.
Yeah.
It does smell really nice. Yeah, no, this is not a bad beer, but by any standard. Just great looking, great smelling, great tasting fall beer.
Yeah, and again, I think that the lack of caramel is really well done in this. A lot of American interpretations of a Marzen will add some caramel for sweetness or body.
Sure.
And that's not appropriate for the style, even though it's just a popular way that Americans will interpret a Marzen. Really no caramel in this. A pretty dry finish, and it's really just bready all around.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, nothing really wild or out there. Just kind of a really solid beer.
I did knock it a little bit on the mouthfeel. I think it was a little flat. It's kind of low carbonated, although
Right.
that contributes almost like a creamy quality to it, because you're not getting as much of that carbonic bite.
Got it.
So, what are your overall tasting notes, final impressions on this one?
Well, it's really clean and crisp, like we've kind of beaten into the ground at this point, but it's got that little bit of something else in there. You know, I mean, you might call it like a small sour note, like not like a sour beer, not like a Warhead candy or anything like that, but there's a little bit of something in there. But largely, it kind of smells and tastes pretty similar to what you might expect. I think this is a good representation of the style.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. I scored it overall a total of 40 out of 50.
Yeah.
Which is very, very good.
That's
if I
great.
entered a homebrew in a competition, I got a score of 40, I'd be very happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so pretty classic, pretty nice American craft interpretation of a Marzen.
Yeah. Well, let's see if Bell's can stack up.
Okay.
Against it. It's kind of the battle of the two Michigan breweries, as it seems.
That's right.
Yeah. So just looking through this one, I'm feeling like this one might be a little bit clearer than the last, if not very similarly, sort of.
Yeah, it's not quite crystal clear, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of good
of
clarity
clarity,
in this one. Yeah, very similar color to the Founders.
Absolutely.
Maybe a shade lighter, but very
Possibly.
similar.
Yeah. Well, even with the bottle, I mean, they've really leaned into the fall aesthetic. There's a big orange leaf on the cap there.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that. Yeah, very indicative of a fall beer for sure.
So for aroma, I'm getting kind of medium high, classic malt aromas, bready, maybe even a little bit doughy, like even like lighter than some of the other like toastier notes that we've gotten on other Marzens. Not really getting any toast or caramel, so definitely on the lighter range of aromas, even though the color is about the same.
Yeah.
Are you getting anything else besides malt? Maybe any kind of hop notes or anything
I'm
else?
not really getting a lot of. I almost feel like there's a little something else there. It feels there's a small sharpness there. It's almost like a citrus sharpness, if that makes any sense, right?
Yeah, I think that is some of the hops
Yeah.
there. It's balanced in the aroma more toward the malt for sure, but I'm getting some like spicy, maybe lightly floral.
Yeah. It's definitely in there.
It's definitely in there. Yeah, there is definitely a hop quality in the aroma, more present than in some other Marzens.
Yeah. Now, would you ding that terribly for there being a little bit of a hop presence in the nose?
It's just kind of unique among some of the other Marzens that we've had.
That's a really interesting taste. I mean, for all the Marzens we've drank on this show, this one is it's got a pretty unique, I think, taste to it.
I'm getting a huge amount of floral hop flavor right up front.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not an artificial kind of floral quality, but really big, noble floral flavor of hop, even though it's not an extraordinarily bitter beer.
No, it isn't. Not at all. I mean, I'm wondering if it says on here at all. Doesn't really say what the IBUs are, but yeah, it's not terribly bitter or anything like that.
Now, that being said, I mean, it's a very malty style.
Yeah.
And there are some hops in this version, in this example of the style, but I would still categorize it as a malty beer.
Yeah.
It just has more of the hops than a lot of other Marzens that we've tried.
Sure. Now, I mean, based just solely off of what you do as a home brewer, where do you think they added those hops to get that sort of maybe more hop forwardness in the brew?
That's a really great question, and when you add hops very early in the brew, in the boil, with say an hour to go, you're contributing almost just bitterness. You get very, very little flavor or aromatics when you add the hops very early in the boil. Later on in the boil, say the 20-minute to 5-minute mark, and that's minutes until the end of the boil. Kind of the 20-minute to 5-minute mark is where you're going to get most of your flavors.
Okay.
When you add hops into the beer, and then really 5 down to the time you shut off the flame, and then you can even add hops in after that in what's called the whirlpooling phase.
Sure.
Or dry hopping it once the beer is actually in the fermenter. So, and when you add those super late hops, that's going to contribute some to the flavor, but a lot of the aroma. That's where you get those big juicy IPAs that are just bursting with aroma. Those are all super late addition hops. I would definitely say that the main hop addition here would have probably been around the 10-minute mark.
You think so?
Yeah, just with the flavors that we're getting, some of the aromas as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty hop forward flavor despite still maintaining a malty balance.
Absolutely. Yeah, I still get a lot of the malt through it. I mean, I get that hop spiciness, but yeah, a lot of malt.
We talk about tasting beers beside other beers sometimes on the show.
Sure.
And if I had an IPA before this or a spiced beer before this, I might say, oh, this is a super malty beer. I'm not getting any hops at all.
Yeah.
But because we've had it alongside some very malty beers, the hops really shine through.
They do. Yeah. I mean, we've kind of touched on flight placement before. So it's really interesting how other beers can inform your tasting just from within the flight. I mean, let alone just in general. But
so I think it finishes smooth. Maybe even just a tad sweet. There's not really bitterness to it. It's balanced to the malt, even though it has that big floral hop aroma up front and some taste throughout. I thought the mouthfeel was pretty right on. Pretty drying, pretty refreshing. And overall, I thought it's a very good, kind of a lighter colored Marzen.
Mm-hmm.
Nice balance and excellent malt flavors. And the hops were an interesting note, but not out of place.
No, not at all. This is definitely a beer I could see having more than one of.
Yeah. So I have to ask, the Founders or the Bells? What's your preference?
I'd be interested in flip-flopping them in the flight and seeing how I feel, but I got to give it to the Founders, I think.
Yeah.
For me, just it's that extra little bit of hoppiness, a little bit of hop spice is it's doing something for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm digging it.
Yeah. For me, I actually scored them both exactly the same.
Really?
I gave both of them a score of 40, and that wasn't just being like political and making sure that they were even. Like they truly added up to 40, even though they were kind of different beers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and I mean, we've talked about, even in our Marzen series, just how wildly variant these beers can be from one to another.
Yeah.
Really.
Definitely. So I'm excited now that we've tried some really nice American craft examples of the Marzen to move on to an Oktoberfest Marzen.
Yeah. from a real German brewery.
Yes, that's
Important to note that this is an import.
That's right.
Important.
Yeah, you got it. All right, so Spaten Oktoberfest.
Yeah, so right off the bat, if we're talking about clarity and aroma in this episode, this is I found all the clarity.
Yeah.
I can see you in this beer pretty easy. It's got a really dark orangey. I can't really even tell if it's a dark. No, it's a dark orangey. I was just so like, it's a little confusing. It's like I'm getting a lot of the background. It's a little dark back there, but yeah, it's still got that nice orange color.
Yeah, this is definitely on the darker end of Marzen's as opposed to the other ones that we've had, which are kind of on the lighter end, and insanely clear.
Yes. Something you might expect from a German brewery who's presumably been doing this for a long time.
Yeah. So aroma-wise, I'm getting kind of what we've come to expect. Some medium bread, light bread crust malt, and
yeah, I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah, I'm getting some kind of medium low spicy hop aroma as well.
Yeah, I can definitely sense a little bit of spiciness in there.
It's really pretty nice.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
No, I had sampled one while I fill out my score sheet before the show.
Yeah.
And the bottle that I had when I was trying it then was actually skunked. So I was kind of worried that we'd be in for a rough taste
really
here.
Unpleasant surprise.
Right, but I'm not really getting that in this.
It's not bad at all.
No, and it's really interesting how sometimes you can have bottle to bottle variation, even in homebrew competitions or other ways.
Yeah. Now it's in a green bottle, which I have heard can lend it to being skunky sometimes. Just kind of, more than brown bottles, more than clear bottles.
Absolutely, yeah. So what happens with a green bottle is that it doesn't filter out like sunlight and UV light as well as the brown bottles do.
Yeah.
And when you have basically it's light struck. So the UV rays and the light will interact with, I think it's the hops, but generally just the beer. And it will, when we say skunk, it has like a musty, almost like faintly like skunk spray aroma to it, which sounds horrid. And
it is horrid.
Yeah, in small amounts it can kind of be okay. Yeah. You really want to try to avoid that in your beer. So if possible, I would always recommend bottling your beer in brown bottles, which reflects the sunlight a lot better than clear or green bottles.
Sure.
So, I had a 6-pack of this. I'm wondering if the one I grabbed that I prejudged maybe was at the front 3 of the 6-pack,
wonder.
Closer to the window,
and
the other one was behind. But I'm not getting that skunkiness in this one, thank goodness.
No, this is nice. This is... Yeah, I mean it's got that general kind of breadiness, just maltiness. There's nothing really. There's no like outstanding. I do get a little bit of I think the hop spiciness.
Yeah, what I always like, and I think it's so hard for U.S. breweries to pin down is that continental malt quality. Like I can taste an Oktoberfest, and it's that is not just an Oktoberfest Marzen, but one that's from Germany, because they just have a fresh richness that's so hard to duplicate over here.
Right. Well, and I mean, we've talked about this in other episodes, but just being able to go out into their backyard, basically, and grab the grain, to do this.
Right.
Versus
they have
having to get it imported over here.
That's right. Yeah, so overall, I think it's kind of medium-high, more on the grainy, bready side of the malt flavor. Less sharp Munich malt than some other imports. I think it's more on like the grainier, lighter side, even though it does have a nice, rich color. Definitely has some prominent noble hop character to it. especially on the spicier end of the noble hops. Fairly crisp yet malty finish as well. I think it's another pretty prime example.
Yeah, pretty archetypal of the Marzen style.
So I can also say that if you have a favorite beer that you're now discovering, oh, it's skunky sometimes, try it in a can if you can find it, or in a keg, fresh in a keg. I'm never disappointed when I have Spaten in a keg. And there's a lot of other beers that are available on draft or in bottles. Try Corona in a bottle and on tap, and it'll taste different.
That's wild.
Heineken's another one. There are definitely beers out there. One of my favorite beers is Pilsner Urquell.
Yeah.
But I always try to get it in the can because it can't get skunked that way. But it's kind of a toss-up when you get it in the bottle.
Sure. Now, what makes a company go for that green bottle over something else? Availability?
No, it's definitely not availability or cost. It's I think sometimes it's just we've always put it in a green bottle, and that's just what we keep doing.
Interesting.
Type of thing.
So, aesthetic, tradition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
So there you go. Those are our Marzens, and also a little talk on green glass.
Yeah.
bottles.
Well, hey, I mean, when the part of the conversation was, oh, is this going to be skunked? Is this not?
Yeah.
It's really interesting just to see that how those UV rays can really destroy something. This is good. I mean, the Spaten's really good.
I really enjoyed the Spaten.
And so I definitely wouldn't have enjoyed it if it was skunked. I mean, it's not like a blue cheese where you can appreciate those.
Yeah.
Where the stark contrast of the sharpness, it's just kind of unpleasant.
Yeah. So, of the 3 beers that we tried today, what is your favorite?
I really liked the Spaten, and I thought the Bell's was super interesting with that extra hop spiciness to it. That was really interesting to me. I mean, I would have any of these more than once. I think I'm leaning towards the Bells, just for a little bit of a break from the norm, what we've been tasting, sort of in our series.
Yeah, kind of a little bit on the hoppier side of Marzen, but still not so much to knock it outside of the style.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it's not overwhelmingly hoppy. It's not a double IPA or anything like that.
Yeah.
So,
I agree with you that all 3 of these were really, really excellent beers. And once again, it's so hard for me to deviate from the imports. And especially that this was not skunked. I would have to go with the Spaten Oktoberfest, but I mean it's really photo finish super close.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All 3 of these really great beers, and if I was anywhere and saw any of these on tap, I would happily order some.
Absolutely, great.
All right, well, stay tuned for more as we keep moving through the BJCP description of Marzen and discuss other Oktoberfest topics.
Yeah. We had a whole playlist of topics ranging from Oktoberfest, Fest beers, Marzens, pumpkin, it's all in our autumn seasonal collection.
That's right. So, come back for more, and cheers.